Hello, my wedding planning friends. Today, we are going to start on the pre-work. Now, I know you guys are ready to get your hands dirty and start planning your wedding day, but let's sit down and get real first. This is never talked about, but one of the most important parts of the wedding planning journey. In this block of podcasts, we're going to be diving deep on some of the discussions between you and your fiance before talking to anybody else. Okay? In this free work, I invite you to define your preferences for your wedding vision, budget, and guest count. By engaging in this exercise, we can proactively address potential issues that might arise later in the planning process, and we do not want any more stress than what wedding planning already puts on our table. Okay? It is essential to establish a clear understanding of what you both envision for your wedding day and align on financial and guest-related aspects. This is the initial step to serve as a solid foundation for the rest of your wedding planning journey. So we need to ensure decisions are in harmony with your shared vision and resources. So it is super important to approach this with honesty, both to yourself and to your partner, okay? It is completely acceptable if you do not have a strong preference or opinion on any of these things that we're going to talk about today, but it is crucial to express any firm opinions you do have. In your vision questions, I'm going to go through them right now. The top question is, would you rather have a small wedding, like an elopement, or just your favorite 20 people at your wedding? Or do you want a big wedding, like anything from 50 people and on? Okay, this is the main question, because if you don't want a big wedding and you just want a small, intimate gathering, then you need to know, because that's going to directly affect the budget, because you'll spend a lot less on a small wedding than you will a big wedding, as long as you don't have all the bells and whistles with your wedding, right? So maybe an elopement followed by a really nice dinner with close friends and family. Call it a day. That is perfectly fine to do a wedding like that. Or if you want to have a big wedding day with all of the people that you know in the world, then we're going to move forward to the other questions. The next question is, what do you see in your wedding? For instance, is it a day wedding and party and then everybody's gone by nighttime, or is it more of an evening party the night away? Is it indoors or is it outdoors? Is it extravagant? Do you have a specific theme or color in mind? The vision of your wedding day. What kind of food are you going to want for your guests? A buffet, a formally plated? Are you going to do a big cake? Or is it going to be more of a dessert cart? Will you want late night snacks from a local food truck? What type of bar would you like to have? Is it a cash bar, or is it you're going to provide open bar for all of your friends and family throughout the night with everything included? In the worksheet, it drops this down in a little bit more detailed, but really what we're looking for here is, what do you want to provide at your wedding? That's going to directly correlate to the budget, and if you have any very, very strong opinions about these things. The second of the big four questions is the location. Would you rather, the main thing of this is, would you rather a destination wedding or an at-home wedding? What's considered an at-home wedding is not actually in your home. It just means in your hometown or close by, within, let's say, 2 hours from where you live currently. Okay, so a destination wedding is where you need to drive or travel on an airplane more than 2 hours away from your home and away from other people's homes, your guests, your family, your friends. Okay, so if you were going to have a wedding close to home, would you rather it in a church, backyard, park, rooftop, a specific venue you've been dreaming of for all this time? If you have exactly where you want to get married, write that down. If, on the other hand, you would much rather do a destination wedding, which means that everybody, for the most part, will be traveling to your wedding, then are we talking a tropical beach destination, a campground, winery, Mexican hacienda, or to the city? Essentially, what does the vision look like? Are you getting married with your toes in the sand, or are you getting married at a villa in Tuscany? So these are things to write down. What is your strong preference on any one of these? Then we get into budget. Okay, budget is a tricky thing to start talking about, but we want to start right here. How much are you willing to spend out of your own pocket for the wedding? This is going to include what you can save 3 months before the wedding, because you don't want to think, oh, well, I can get a second job and I will make a whole bunch of money in the last 3 months before the wedding. Most vendors want to have their payment in full, or at least a big chunk of it paid a month or two before the wedding. So you don't have until the wedding day to pay everybody. You actually have, let's pretend, 90 days before the wedding to pay everything. Okay, so you want to make sure you're not stressing yourself out. So how much can you save before the wedding date? Is there anything that you can sell to put towards the wedding? Or do you have money in savings that you're willing to put towards the wedding? Money that you already have, or money that you can potentially make between now and 90 days before your wedding. Write down that number, what you can put in yourself without taking a loan or credit card debt. Okay, just you cash yourself. And then I want you to write down if you think a family member will help you pay for this wedding. Usually parents will put down some money, and we'll talk about that when we get into the actual budget episode. We will talk about parents and paying for things and what that looks like and the right way to do that. But for right now, if you know, because your parents have told you that they would put a certain amount towards your wedding, then write that number down there and who it's going to come from. If there's anybody else in the family, friends, uncles, step parents, anybody else that might contribute, write that down and how much you think they might be willing to contribute. Okay, add all of those numbers up, each of you individually, and then come together and add those numbers up. That is what is going to be your wedding budget. Okay, that is, for the most part, that's your max wedding budget max. This is where we start talking about the money, which is an uncomfortable discussion to have. However, it is a very, very important one to have. So the other question when it comes down to budget is, are you willing to take out a loan or put wedding costs on a credit card? This is a yes or no question for each of you to answer on your own, and then come back and tell each other what your answer is. Because if one of you are willing to take out a credit card to pay for the wedding costs and the other one is a firm no, then you need to know that from the very beginning, that one of you does not want to go into debt for your wedding. Okay. The other, if you both are on a yes, because we're going to get points on our credit card and we can pay it off quickly and we already know we're financially responsible, no problem. Then you can both say yes and everything is great. So, but this is a conversation that I want you two to have before starting this, because inevitably the budget will be a little bit higher, or as you're finding out prices of photography and venues and florals, things add up very, very quickly and very easily. You could be like at the end of the day saying, "God, I need another $5,000. How about we just put it on a credit card?" And you will need to know the answer that your future spouse will have when that discussion comes up. Okay, so nope, we're going to drop some things from our list rather than taking out credit card debt to pay for the rest of the wedding. So you will want to know that from the beginning. Then the final piece of the big four is your guest list. So in here, guest count, how many people on your side do you think will come to the wedding? So just start making the list. Take out a piece of paper, start listing out your immediate family and their plus ones, your close friends and their plus ones. Then you have two different lists. One list is mandatory. These people have to be at my wedding. I need these people to be at my wedding. They are extremely important to me and I want them there. And then you have the next list, which is not mandatory for them to be there, but it would be nice to have them there. Okay, so whether you put an asterisk next to the mandatory guests and leave the other ones, that's perfectly fine. So you start with immediate family, plus ones, close friends, add their plus ones, and then extended family, all of the people that your parents expect you to invite as well, and any other friends and acquaintances. These are coworkers, teammates, friends of the family, Facebook friends, Instagram followers, pickleball partners, all of that. You'll want to make a full list and asterisk the ones that are mandatory, because all of the people on your mandatory list are going to be your minimum amount of guests you want at your wedding. And then the entire list will be your maximum. Okay. So each one of you write your list just for yourself, not the other person, only for yourself. Go through your Instagram followers or your Facebook or your phone. What phone numbers do you have? Go through everybody so you don't forget anybody, and write down your numbers, your mandatory number and the total number of all the people on your list. Then come together, add up your numbers, and see if that is a comfortable number for you. The mandatory is your minimum, added up together is your minimum, and the total is your maximum. So this is where you'll have the conversation about what size of a wedding you want to have, whether you only want to do the mandatory or if you want to invite everybody. This is going to be a huge part of not only your budget, but where you get married. Because if your numbers end up being 200 people, your venue has to allow for 200 people. Just as a side note, when we're talking about budget, the average wedding costs between $150 to $600 per guest. So if you have 100 people on your list, expect that to be $15,000 to $40,000 for your wedding. Of course, the lower end is a more simple wedding. The higher end is more, New York City, LA, Atlanta, like big city events will cost more. And some destination weddings actually do cost more. It's not necessarily that a destination wedding costs less than getting married in the States or at home. The main thing is how many people are willing to travel to go to that wedding. So your guest count will be lower than if you did your wedding at home and had all of your coworkers come to your wedding. When you do a destination wedding, most of your coworkers will not come. So that drops your guest count, which means that drops your wedding costs. Just a FYI for you. So now that you both have filled out your worksheet or shared with each other all of your answers to these questions, how did it go? Are you guys on the same page? Or were there a lot of different answers? And is there some compromising that has to happen? These are why we do this. We want to put it all on the table right now in order to have the discussions so that this does not become a problem later on in the planning process. Okay? By putting them on the table now, openly discussing everything, this will alleviate big, big issues later on. I hope this helps. Remember to stay open, compromise, communicate. This is just the beginning of the planning process. So, thank you guys so much, and we will see you at the next one.